Gap sentence link. Gap sentence link presents two utterances. The second is brought into the focus of the reader's attention. For example, she and that fellow ought to be the sufferers, and they were in Italy. Galperin makes the following comment. In this sentence, the second part, which is hooked onto the first by the conjunction and, seems to be unmotivated, or in other words, the whole sentence seems to be logically incoherent. But this is only the first impression. After a more careful supralinear semantic analysis, it becomes clear that the exact logical variant of the utterance would be, those who ought to suffer were enjoying themselves in Italy. Consequently, gap sentence link is a way of connecting two sentences, seemingly unconnected, and leaving it to the reader's perceptiveness to grasp the idea implied, but not worded. Generally speaking, every detail of the situation need not be stated. Some must remain for the reader to divine. Galperin provides with another interesting example. The Forsytes were resentful of something, not individually, but as a family. This resentment expressed itself in an added perfection of raiment, an exuberance of family cordiality, an exaggeration of family importance, and the sniff. In his opinion, in this example of the gap sentence link, the sniff is motivated. Its association with an exaggerated family importance is apparent. Though the emotive meaning of the word sniff is so strong that it overshadows the preceding words, which are used in their primary, exact, logical meanings. And now about syntactical stylistic devices based on peculiar use of colloquial constructions. Ellipsis, break in the narrative, represented speech. Ellipsis is the omission of a word necessary for the complete syntactical construction or a sentence. For example, you feel all right? Anything wrong or what? The stylistic function of ellipsis used in author's narration is to change its tempo, to connect its structure. In speech generally, an elliptical sentence is not a stylistic device. It is characteristic to the spoken language, colloquial language. When it is used as a stylistic device, it imitates the colloquial speech. Epicypsis, or break in the narrative. Epicypsis, or break in the narrative, is a sudden break in the narration, which has a function to reveal agitated state of the speaker. For example, on the whole table there were a couple of letters addressed to her. One was the bill, the other. One can distinguish the use of break in the narrative between the spoken and written varieties. In the spoken variety of the language, a break in the narrative is usually caused by the unwillingness to proceed, or by the supposition that what remains to be said can be understood as to what should be said. In conversation, the implication can be conveyed by intonation, an adequate gesture. As for in the written variety, it is always a stylistic device used for some stylistic effect. The only key to decode what break in the narrative implies is the context. Quite often, the implication is a threat. If you behave like that very soon, so break in the narrative can be noted in various syntactical structures. It is most frequently used in conditional sentences. And now about syntactical stylistic devices based on stylistic use of structural meaning, rhetorical questions. Rhetorical question is one that expects no answer. It is asked in order to make a statement rather than to get a reply. There is always an additional shade of meaning implied in them, suggestion, doubt, sorrow. In other words, as Galperin comments, they are full of emotive meaning and modality. They are frequently used in dramatic situation and in publicist style. The question is no longer a question. but a statement expressed in the form of an interrogative sentence. Thus, there is an interplay of two structural meanings, that of the question and that of the statement, either affirmative or negative. And now the examples of rhetorical questions. What will the good of the discontented people who fitted in nowhere? Is there no blood enough upon your penal code that more must be poured forth to ascend to heaven and testify against you? Have I not had to wrestle with my lot? Have I not suffered things to be forgiven? Litetis. Litetis is a device, an affirmation expressed by denying its contrary. Usually, litetis presupposes double negation, one through a negative particle, such as no, not, the other through a word with negative meaning. Litetis is a two-component structure in which two negations are joined to give a positive evaluation. Thus, not unkindly actually means kindly, though the positive effect is weakened and some lack of the speaker's confidence in his statement is implied, of course. The first component of a litetis is always the negative particle not, while the second, always negative in semantics, varies in form from a negatively affixed word, as above, to a negative phrase. Its function is to convey doubts of the speaker concerning the exact characteristics of the object or a feeling. For example, it's not a bad thing. He is no coward. He was not without taste. The idea was not totally erroneous. The thought did not displease me. So no bad is not equal to good, although the two constructions are synonymous. The same can be said about the second pair. The negative constructions produce no less effect on the reader than the affirmative ones. So litetis is a deliberate understatement used to produce a stylistic effect. The stylistic effect of litetis depends mainly on intonation. Litetis is used in different styles of speech, excluding those which may be called the matter-of-fact styles, like official style and scientific prose. Litetis is especially expressive when the semantic center of the whole structure is emotionally colored, as in the case of the following occasional creations. Her face was not unhandsome, or her face was not unpretty. And now exercises dealing with phonetic, lexical, and stylistic, syntactic stylistic devices. So which phonetic, lexical, and syntactic stylistic devices are used in the sentences below? The girls were giggling and whispering in the hall. The pink muslin and the white silk rushed downstairs. He had a kind heart, a gold tooth, and a bank account. The earth was made for Dombey and Son to trade in, and the sun and the moon were made to give them light. What sweet pain is to listen to her, treacherous as a snake. Uncertain rustling of the silky curtain. In private, I should call him a liar. In the press, you should use the words, reckless disregard for truth. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. The principal production of these towns appear to be soldiers, sailors, chalk, shrimps, officers, and dockyard men. Youth is lovely, age is lonely, youth is fire, age is frost. Soames turned away. He had an utter disinclination for talk. You just come home, or I'll... Over and over he was asking himself, would she receive him? The heaviest rain, and snow, and hail, and sleet could boast of the advantage over him in only one respect. She was lovely, all of her delightful. I woke early to see the kiss of the sunrise summoning a flush to the cliffs. St. Paul's Cathedral dominated the urban space.